Guys, so welcome back. So last time we recorded a video where we installed the VirtualBox from Oracle. And let me show you how it looks. Let me bring up the VirtualBox. This is the command prompt from Windows, right? And the commands you type, these are Windows commands. Some of them are the same, some of them very similar. The concept is the same, right? So now we're going into this. Once I go into this window, it's a virtual computer, right? So if I type in command ifconfig, that tells me that right now my IP address on this machine is 192.168.1.30. So let's go back again to DOS, right? So this guy is 29. This guy is 30. Why is it important? The reason it's important because right now we have two virtual machines. So one is physical, the second one is virtual, and we can try all kind of communication tasks before you would need to buy like two computers or three computers, interconnect them into the network. And we're going to do that too. We're going to do a physical network. But this is super useful to be able to experiment with networking and connecting, interconnecting, going between systems, copying files, learning how to navigate the network on the virtual infrastructure because it's not expensive. You don't have to buy anything. The only thing is your time. You just invest in your time, right? So let me minimize this. And let us have a basic introduction to Linux, right? So the concept is the same. You can click on stuff. So if I minimize this, they have a basic visual interface called X Windows, right? So let's say if I go in here, so exactly same concept. Remember like how like on Windows we're able to browse the folders and do different things. I were able to right click and let me see. I think it mounted as read-only. This is, let me see, this is the root operating system. I cannot create anything here, but I mounted this drive. It's a USB drive, right? So on here, I should be able to create a folder. So create folder, we're gonna call it test from Linux, right? So we created a folder. But again, the concept is sometimes you will not be able to connect, you will not be able to do things. Can you do the same things from command line? So then that's the concept that we are learning how to do the same things on the command line, right? So one of the easiest commands I was showing you on Windows is called dir, like directory search. On Linux, there's exactly the same command, but it's the concept is the same, but the command is called ls, list, right? So if I type ls, it shows me what folders are there. And on Linux, they also have another command to kind of show you where you are. On Windows, like it would show you right in the command prompt. Like, let me show you Windows one more time. Right, so if I bring up, this is my Windows machine. So it kind of shows me that here I'm on a C drive, in this folder, in this subfolder. But how do I know where I am right now in this window? In this window, there's a Unix command called print working directory, pwd. Right? So pwd is telling me that right now, in a folder called home, and there's a subfolder called Mike. That's where I am, right? So what if I want to go into a different folder? What if I want to go into the folder into this guy, right? So like, where is that? It's a USB mounted drive, right? So where is that? So there's a Unix command which will kind of show you that, df-h. Boom. So let me see. So df-h is telling us that we have media mic 6G. It's more like a USB device which I plugged in, and I told VirtualBox to kind of mount it on Linux. So, and it tells you how big it is. It's about 6 gigs, 5.8, right? So if I want to go into the same place, basically the concept is, can I get into the same place and list all of these folders, right? So the command would be cd, exactly like in Windows, change directory, right? And then I can copy and paste this directory, or I can type it in, whatever is easier. So on Linux, you select it, and then you middle mouse click to paste it, right? So it didn't tell us anything that it didn't like it or something didn't work. So if you want to like check ourselves, you do pwd one more time. In the beginning, you can do it all the time to kind of like practice and to check where you are. So right now, we're in a different folder. We're in a folder called Mike's Media, Mike 6G, right? So if I do ls, it will tell me which folders are there. And basically what it's showing you is this. It's showing you all of these folders, like artwork, all the different folders which are here, we're listing them here, right? If I want to list them kind of like in a long list, I can also do it like that. I can do ls minus L, right? And there's also a different option. If you hit up arrow, it will repeat the last command. The same thing in Windows or in Linux. If I do -1, yeah, -1 kind of gives me the list, but it doesn't give me the other things. So the previous command, when it gives you the long list, there's something very interesting. These are the Unix permissions, right? So it is read, write, execute, RWX, right? So it's asking like, do you have read rights, do you have write rights, and do you have execute rights? And there are three, they're kind of like 9 characters. So the first 3 are there, the rest are kind of slashes. It means that we don't have it. So meaning that the file we're looking at, it belongs to the Mike. Mike is the user who it belongs to. The second one is the group it belongs to. And then the permissions mean that the user who is the owner of it has read, write, execute, and everybody else doesn't have anything. Who is everybody else? So everybody else is group permissions and nobody permissions, meaning that if you're a user, you have read, write, and execute. If you're just in the same group as Mike, you don't have anything. And if you're not the user and you're not in the same group, you don't have anything else. So that will, at some point, I'm going to stop at it one more time because it's not easy to grasp in the beginning. You see, like these permissions. It's saying read, write, execute for the user. Then just read permissions for somebody, read and execute permissions in somebody who's in a group, and also read and execute for anybody who is not the user and who is not in a group. So these are Unix permissions, and you have to look at it in detail one more time because in the beginning it's all confusing, but it doesn't matter. At this point, we're just getting familiar, right? So I can say ls, and again, if you forget and you type in dir as in Windows, it will say, oh, it's interesting, here it's working, maybe they mapped it. Maybe they have an alias for people who forget. Usually in Windows, if you type dir, it will say like, I don't know what you want, this command is not good. Like if I type in list, let me see, let's see if it will complain that it's a bad command. Yeah, so it's saying command not found. So that's a normal behavior for something like that, right? So let me move it here so it's easier to see. And let's see. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to get familiar with different Unix commands, right? So we already know that we have ls, the list. We know that we can do print working directory. There's a command on Unix called who am I? Who am I? That command tells you who is the user who is logged in. If you type in who, if you have multiple users, it will tell you who else is logged in. Because Unix is multi-user system. You can have 20 different people connected to the server. When you type who, it will tell you who else is logged in. And it also tells you from what IP addresses they are connected. You see like this connection, 31? The reason I have this connection because I'm connected from a different system. Let me show you the second one. Let me see what that guy is. Yeah, this one. Right? So I have a second operating system running side by side with that. And let me log into that. So another useful command, you see like here I'm also doing ifconfig. I'm checking my configurations. This machine, no, this is actually SSH'd into this. So let me disconnect. Let's start from the beginning. So right now, if I do ifconfig, this machine is .31, 192.168.1.31. This machine, let's do one more time, ifconfig. This machine is .30, 192.168.30. Agree? So basically what's going on is that we have two different machines. This virtual machine has a different address than this one, right? And the physical machine, if I bring up the command prompt, the physical machine on this one is .29. So 192.168.1.129. So right now we have three different IP addresses used on a network. Agree? Right? So then another question which you can ask, what if I want to connect from this machine? What if this machine, the CentOS, what if this machine is in London and this machine is in New York? Can we connect remotely? And the answer is yes, you can connect. So another beauty of Linux machines, they have very powerful networking commands built in. So the command to connect is this, SSH, that stands for secure shell. Then you type in what is the user. So the user is Mike, right? And then at IP address 192.168.1.30, right? So basically we're trying to connect from this machine to this machine, right? So we're running a secure shell. Let's see if it's going to connect, right? So it's saying, okay, what is the password? And the password, I know that I made them the same, but nevertheless it asks me. One more time. Right? So check it out. We used to be on this machine. I used to be a user called Mike OSX on this machine, which is called Mike OSX, right? So this is the machine which kind of like everything kind of looks cute. It looks similar to the Mac, right? So, and I fixed the networking where on the network I can browse the net. Let me see, where can I go? IBM.com. Let's say I go to, where can we go? CNN.com, right? Let's see what's going on there. Right? So something is going on at CNN. We can go to Oracle.com. Right? So basically we're on a network, right? We convinced ourselves that we're on a network, we can browse the network. And, but this is like when we connecting like that, we connect into the web server. Right now, when I type that SSH command, the command worked fine. So right now, you see where I am? This is the Mike at CentOS 6, meaning that I'm on this machine. The machines which I'm executing here are the machines which will be executed on this machine, right? So first let's do this. First let's see if, let's double check where we are, print working directory, right? So we're in this folder, so right in this folder. Let's see if we can create a folder in this subfolder, right? So we're gonna do make directory, and we're gonna call it, what are we gonna call it? We're gonna call it Mike test, right? Let's see if we can make a directory in here, right? So let's see. Mike test. So we just made this one, right? So let's make another one so it looks more visual. And let me move it so you can see them side by side. Right, so one more time. Right? So if I want to repeat the last command, I just hit up arrow, make directory. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a folder called Linux_rules. Right? So where is it? It's here somewhere, Linux rules, right? So we're convinced that we're making directories from here, right? So from the command line, we can make directory. What if I want to delete that Mike test directory? The command is rm, remove. Right, and we selected it. Okay, so when we type in the command to remove, it's saying, wait a second, it's a directory. So let's do this, rm minus rf. So rm minus r means recursive, and f means force it. So like kind of like ignore all those things which you're trying to tell me, right? So it just deleted it, right? But you have to be very careful that rm minus rf command is a super dangerous command. So you only can run it on the things which you double checked, which you backed up. Otherwise it might delete. It's not going to ask you, are you sure? It's not Windows, it's Linux. It assumes that you're super knowledgeable and you know what you're doing, right? So you have to be very careful with this remove command. Make folders, list things, it's easy, but removing things, it's you have to be very serious and very careful, right? So we convinced ourselves, like in the same test, like what we were doing on Windows, we can the same things which we can do by clicking on things. We can navigate from directory to directory. Let me see, what do I have? New folder, Linux rules. Let's say I want to double click on this thing, right? Linux rules, right? So let's say I want to go into the same directory. So let's double check where I am. Print working directory. I'm in that. CD, Linux, rules. You see, like I hit tab, it auto-filled in, right? So I'm in the same place. So let's say I'm going to make a directory in there called test CMD. You see, it appeared. So we type in commands and we're affecting the operating system. That's basically, right now we're just trying to get familiar. So we're not trying to do something super difficult and super complex. At this point, we got to be fluent doing simple things. And once we do simple things, it's going to become very complex. But I want you to kind of get familiar, right? So that's cool. So we're doing that, right? So then I was showing you on Windows that you can do redirect, right? So if I do ls command, let's say I do ls /, which means like show me the list of files on the root file system, right? So I do that. I hit tab one more time, ls /, and I want to put greater sign. It kind of looks like an arrow, meaning redirect. I'm going to redirect that into the file. We're going to call it list files.txt, right? You see? So now we made this list. Run in terminal. I'll just run. Right? Let's see if it will know what to do with it. Now, that's another thing. On Linux, it may not know how to list it. So if I want to list it, like I can do it from command line. I can do more list, and it will show you what's in there, right? So in other words, we just use the command to see. You can also use cat, right? So these are the commands used to kind of like to display something like what's inside the file and stuff like that. So this is all cool. So we're in Linux, we're doing things, we're clicking on stuff, right? We have two virtual machines running, so we're fully prepared to learn, right? So then more interesting question is, can we do it remotely? Right? Let me close this thing. Let me close this thing. So this is our command prompt. We're on that folder Mike6G. So at this point, we're asking ourselves, but this is a remote machine. So in other words, the scenario we're describing, maybe this machine is in New York and this machine is in London or in Australia, right? They could be remote. They don't have to be on the same machine. The commands are exactly the same. We're learning it on the same machine, but they could be in the different parts of the world, right? So let's double check. So let's type in host name. Host name, one more time. Yeah, CentOS, right? So let me do host name here. CentOS. So we're on the same machine, right? I connected to it through SSH, through Secure Shell, right? So let me see if I can connect to the same place as far as the same folder. df-h. It tells me that I have this folder where I was. So let me cd into the directory, cd Mike Media. Right? ls, right? We're listing things. You see, it looks slightly different. And in this brand of Linux, they highlighting different things. They're doing like it looks slightly different, right? You agree, right? So now let's look at this, right? What if we let me see if we can make a folder on this machine, on this virtual machine, and see if it's going to appear in here, right? So let me double check that we're in the right place. Print working directory. Yes, we're in the right place. So let's do the same. Make directory, and we're going to call it test from New York, because we're kind of saying that this machine is in New York, right? Boom, something happened, right? Do we have here a folder test from New York? Let's see. Where is it? Test from Linux, right? So we made this one before. This is the one which we just made. Agree? So at this point, and of course the most the most interesting way is to illustrate this is when you reboot one machine from another one. And of course you can only do it if it's a test environment, if it's not something serious. Otherwise you will affect people, right? So I'm here, right? Let me become root. In Linux, like right now when we logged in, I logged in as a user called Mike, right? So let me at this point become root. So I'm gonna do switch user. And if you don't say anything, it understands that you're trying to become a root user, the most powerful user. So let me give it the password. Right? And if I type now, who am I? I'm root. If I type in who, it tells me that there are multiple people who logged in, right? So this is my connection from this machine, from .31. These are local connections. So at this point, I became root on this remote system, right? So let's see. So we're sitting in here. If I do a command reboot, the other machine will start rebooting. You see? It's rebooting right now. See? So we connected remotely from one virtual machine. We're able to create different folders. We're like going around and we're kind of like getting familiar with Linux commands. And we're able to reboot one machine from another one. Right? Is this cool or what? I think it's very cool. For no money at all, you can have two virtual machines running. And you can learn different brands of Linux.